Just go for the Birkin first, because I feel like the Birkin is going to scratch the itch. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be just a heap of Hermes related questions that I have actually received mostly in my Instagram DMs over a period of time. I can't remember all of them. I'm sure that there are questions that I've actually missed, but these are mostly the questions that I remember more recently and the ones that have come up more recently. I just thought, look, some of these questions that people have asked, perhaps there might be something that you guys wanted to know yourself and you just, you know, didn't want to ask me, or you just be curious about it or whatever. And I just thought, you know what, put it all together in a video, so that way hopefully it, you know, helps you guys as well. And I'm thinking that I might continue doing this. So if you have any Hermes related questions, you are welcome to put them in the comments down below, and I will collate them all again and I'll do another video like this. So yeah, hopefully it can be useful and informative. Let's get some conversation going. Firstly and foremost, before I dive into all the questions, if you do like luxury videos and you like Hermes and you aren't subscribed to my channel, then I would love if you would hit that subscribe button below, and also the bell so you can be notified when I upload new videos, which is twice a week on a Wednesday and on the weekend. Also, I'm not going to reveal anyone's username or anything like that for who has asked the question. Look, if it's your question that I'm broadcasting, you will know it's yours, but I'm just not going to put any names to it. I just think it's nice to sort of keep it anonymous anyway. But you're welcome to give me feedback on that if you prefer that I disclose your username. I'm happy to do that too. Just give me feedback, because it's the first time I'm filming this video. So dive right in. I'm going to start off with a controversial question, and it's something that I'm not going to lie, I've thought about it myself too. But, you know, I'm going to answer it anyway. And the question is, do I think because I am so open on my YouTube channel that it's hindering my ability to get store offers? Okay, this is interesting, because a part of me thinks perhaps that's possible. The other flip side to it that I think no, I don't think it has, is because, for a few reasons. One, I don't feel like I have said anything on my YouTube channel or broadcast in any way anything that should be detrimental, because I have been honest about the mystery of Hermes, what I perceive to be my opinion, which I actually think has its benefits as well. I noticed that because I talk so openly about my journey and about Hermes, it actually helps to bring people to the brand, because what was once so mysterious and intimidating, I have kind of helped to break down that wall, break down that kind of smoke screen that Hermes has always sort of had. So me being, you know, transparent in my experiences and all that sort of thing helps to give people confidence. And I actually know that for a fact, because I have people that have contacted me saying, because of your, you know, my YouTube videos, that they now actually feel confident to speak with their sales associate about wanting to get a Birkin or a Kelly, about wanting to start their journey. They feel confident walking into the store and giving it a go. And they have told me specifically that it is actually because of my content that they feel confident to do so. So I can't see that Hermes would see that as a detriment if the content I'm creating is helping people to go through the door, to feel less intimidated, to open their eyes to the brand. I don't think that my honesty and my channel and my social media presence by any means is detrimenting my ability to score at my local boutique. I just don't think it's what it is. I think that the only thing that is detrimenting me is because there is just so much demand. The demand supersedes the stock availability, and where I live, high demand, we don't get a whole lot of stock compared to other boutiques. Like in Asia, they get a lot of stock. In the US, they get a lot of stock, because our population is much smaller. Australia makes up for only 2% of the Hermes boutiques worldwide, so we just are not a priority. And I am not an elite. I don't spend $50,000. I don't even spend $20,000 on pure fine jewelry, ready-to-wear homewares, those really top-tier desirable categories that have the most commission. That's just the truth. Yeah, I don't. But yeah, I'll probably go into that in another question anyway. But I think that those are the things that probably more realistically is why it takes longer for me to get an offer. But yeah, okay, moving on to the next one. The next one is, do I think that I have sold bags that didn't work out for me Do I think that because I have sold bags that didn't work out for me, that means I have been blacklisted? I don't ever think, oh, I'm gonna buy this so I can resell it. I am never like that. I always buy it because I want to give it a go. And most of the time, the reason why I sometimes don't get it right is because there's not enough information out there on the particular bag. I thought the bag was going to work for me, but it turns out it didn't due to my lifestyle. It was smaller than I thought. Those kinds of things. It was more cumbersome than I thought. Like that sort of thing. When I think of my experience at the store, there is absolutely by no means I could ever sell any of my bags for profit. No way, because of all the money that I have to spend. And it's not like I'm buying things I don't want. I buy things I love, but all the money that's involved with buying items that I like still adds up to like $20,000. So there is no way I could make a $20,000 profit on a handbag. No way. So it is not profitable by any means in my experience. I think the only time it's ever profitable is with people that go to France and they manage to score bags and then they sell them like without having to buy anything. Those are the people, the ones that are doing that are definitely would potentially be blacklisted by Hermes. I don't think that I've been blacklisted because I've sold bags, but you know what? The bags that I've sold have always been bought in the pre-loved market anyway. So there's only been one bag I've ever sold that was from the boutique, and I used it and it had corner wear. It was pre-loved. I'd owned it for over 6 months, and I had sold it due to my postnatal depression, body dysmorphia, that I didn't feel confident carrying the bag. I felt like it made me stand out like a sore thumb, and I felt in my soul at the time it wasn't in a good place. I didn't want the attention. So yeah, that's the only bag I've ever sold that I ever gotten from the boutique. Otherwise, I still have lots of bags I still got from the boutique. Like I have my mini Ruly, I have my Birkin 30 that I got from the store as well. That was my second offer. And then I've got my Evelyne 27, and I also have my Pinkerton 18 in blue pale. So I still have, they've still been offering me bags. They may not be, I may not have gotten many offers for Birkins and Kellys, but I'm still getting other bags from the store. So if I had been blacklisted, they definitely wouldn't be offering me bags. There's just no way. I'm a genuine, honest customer. There is no way that they would be blacklisting me because I had sold pre-loved bags that were bought in the pre-loved market, not even directly from the local boutique, the ones that I had mostly sold, because they just didn't work out. Even vintage bags, there's just no way. Okay, next question. Kelly 25 versus Kelly 28. What do I prefer? And I have my Kelly 25 somewhere. Here. I don't have a Kelly 28, but I did own it before. And I do prefer the Kelly 25 because the Kelly 25 actually fits a very good amount for this size of bag. And it is super versatile for day, for night. The Raton fits more. The Celia doesn't. Kelly 25 Celia is smaller. I did own that once before as well. Yeah, it is smaller. So if you were to compare Kelly 25 Celia to a Kelly 28 Raton, the Kelly 28 Raton would fit a lot more, is more of a practical bag, because the Celia does look a bit dressy. But if I were to go straight up Kelly 25 Raton versus Kelly 28 Raton, I definitely prefer the Kelly 25. However, I do like the Kelly 28 in the Raton. I actually kind of prefer the Kelly 28 in the Raton because the Celia makes the bag bigger, and obviously it's usually always in a structured leather like Epsom or box calf, so it tends to stick out more on the body as well, and I'm quite short, I'm petite. So yeah, I prefer the Kelly 25, but don't discount the Kelly 28. The Kelly 28 is an awesome handbag. I'd say the Chanel medium large is still kind of comparable to the Kelly 28. Yeah, I'd say it's probably still comparable to the Kelly 28 as well. So if you're more of that Chanel medium large flap, you probably would rather the Kelly 28 anyway. But if you feel like you can do a mini rectangular, mini square, if you find that you can do a Chanel small classic flap, then you probably prefer the Kelly 25 because yeah, that's more in that capacity category. What is the average price in resale of a new or old Kelly 25? Now there's too many variables in this. I don't want to lean back and sit on my bag, but yeah, there's way too many variables in this. Ballpark figure, Kelly 25 Celia brand new in a neutral, you're looking at about say 23,000 Singapore dollars, maybe 20, actually you know what, no, you're probably looking at about 25,000 Singaporean dollars for a neutral. Yeah, especially if gold hardware would set you back 25,000, maybe 26,000 Singapore dollars. yeah, because it's super duper desirable. Singapore in Australian dollars is equivalent. If you're a US viewer, just yeah, do the conversion because that gets too complicated for me. Kelly 25 Celia Pre-Loved in a neutral, about 19,000 Singapore dollars. Kelly 25 Celia in a color that's not so desirable, so maybe like, I don't know, this is where it kind of gets a bit, it's kind of complicated because sometimes they price things at what they feel it will sell to the right person, but it might take longer, that kind of thing. Blue Electric, Kelly 25, Celia, brand new, you're probably only looking at about 19,000. I've seen them 19,000. Maybe Blue Atoll is around about 19,000. There is just too many blues in the Hermes family, so I feel like blues is where you can kind of get a lower price point. It's not as comparable to neutrals, but then there are other colors like that are very desirable, like Rose Azaleaf. That was in a Kelly 25 Celia. That would be at least 20,000 Singapore, 21,000 Singaporean dollars, maybe 22. It really depends how old the bag is. So again, too many variables in this. Kelly 25 Retorn, now that will depend on leather because Togo is more desirable than Swift. Whereas like for this, for example, I got this at a good deal a few years ago or a couple years ago now. And I paid like, I think it was around about 16,800 Singaporean dollars, and like I was only about $2,000 over retail at the time. Now it's only like about 1.5 over retail, a little bit less. But yeah, Swift is not so desirable unless it's Rose Sakura. So yeah, Swift Kelly 25 Retorn brand new, it's like about 17,000 to 18,000 Singaporean dollars. If it's a neutral, if it's a color that's less desirable, say like Sorge or like I don't know, maybe ultraviolet or something like that, then they can be priced at like 13,000, 14,000, 15,000 Singaporean dollars. So yeah, you're saving a lot more money when they're pre-loved and they're less desirable colors. If it's a pre-loved neutral, it might be around about 15,000 Singaporean dollars. Like neutral that's popular, I'm talking like a taupe gold, that kind of thing, in Swift. But when you're talking Togo, it's totally different. Brand new, let's say Etain, gold hardware, Togo, Kelly 25 Retorn, brand new, about 23,000 Singaporean. Kelly 25 black gold hardware, again the same price. Silver hardware might be 21,000. Silver hardware is not as desirable as gold hardware, I noticed, in like the resale market sort of thing. Togo pre-loved Kelly 25 in a neutral, very much depends on how old the bag is. If it's only a few years old, it might be about 17,000, 18,000. If it's quite old, like 7 years, 15,000 Singaporean. So yeah, so many variables. Yeah, but that's kind of the ballpark kind of area, but there are far too many variables. If you really want to know the market, just watch all the trends for pricing. I tend to look at Singaporean market, the Asian market more so. Next question, would I take a Kelly 28 outfit for a dinner date? Yes, 100%. I would take any Birkin, Kelly or Constance because of their exclusivity, the rarity, the desire behind the bags, because people know it's rare, hard to get. That, not rare, but you know, harder to get. Like you can't just walk in and buy one. I think that no matter what, any of those bags in any size is respectable, and it's just, no matter what, it's a classic, chic, respectable handbag. Even a Birkin 30 I would take to dinner. A Birkin 35, you know, I think it's got a lot. Then when you get to those bigger sizes, it's more to do with proportion. Like if you were a very small person, say you're like my height, 156 centimeters, you're about an Australian size 10. If you were carrying a Birkin 35, then that looks like a big bag on you. And even though it's totally classy and it's a Birkin, it would still be appropriate to take it because it's a Birkin to a dinner date. However, it would look potentially out of place somewhat because of the proportion. But again, it's still a classy bag. It's a Birkin. It's the top tier that you can get. So it would still be appropriate. You know what I mean? Just to the eye, to the viewer, it might look like, oh, that's a bigger bag and she's a small person. That's all it can kind of be perceived as. But as to whether it is appropriate, definitely it has a place. It has a place going out for any kind of evening event, in my opinion. You know, Birkin Kelly Constants are the top tier bags that you can get in the whole luxury sphere. So yeah, that's just pretty much what I nut it down to. So of course I would take a Kelly 28 out for dinner. I'd take my Birkin 30 out for dinner, no problem. I'm back. I had to take a quick break to feed my son, who I now have with me, bouncing in the bouncer. Now, the next question that I was up to was, what leather do I prefer for Birkin 30 or Birkin 35? Now, this is definitely going to be a bit, I think everything actually is like it. I can't really recommend what's best because I think it's always going to matter about personal preference, but definitely for a Birkin 35 for me personally, I would much prefer it to be in Novillo leather or Swift leather. So this is a Swift leather, and Novillo is pretty much just like Swift, except it's a little slightly bit more heavier because it does actually hold its structure better than what Swift does. But Swift, in my opinion, actually does a pretty good job. Just that on on bigger bags it does kind of flop, but Novillo is kind of intended to stand more upright. So yeah, definitely Novillo or Swift for a Birkin 30 because it's a very, very lightweight leather, so light. Swift is the lightest leather that you can get from Hermes, and then pretty much, you know, second is like Novillo and Evercolor, probably hand in hand, I would say, but Evercolor is just not available in Birkins. I don't think I've ever seen it in a Birkin. You can't even special order Evercolor for a Birkin. But for a Birkin 30, I don't know, like mine's in Togo, and I kind of feel like Togo is kind of like, it's an all-rounder sort of leather that most people are pretty happy with, except the only pitfall is that Togo is slightly on the heavier side. It's not as heavy as, say, Clement's, but it's just more of like a heavier leather. But I still think that I prefer Togo for a Birkin 30, purely because Togo is a very scratch resistant leather. You pretty much can't scratch it. It's pretty much scratch resistant completely. It spars quite well. It tends to hold its shape as long as it's stored correctly, being like you don't overstuff it. I always recommend the 7 Rue Paradise inserts for storing your bags. Just do the best thing for keeping your bag sort of upright, helping to retain its shape. If you're already a seasoned subscriber, you know that I have a coupon code with 7 Rue Paradise. So it's POF30 and you get €30 off one of the inserts. But if you need 2 inserts, just use the code POF70 and then you get €70 off. I've got an insert as well in my Kelly 25 Retorn. But yeah, like I find that with the Birkin 30, Togo is fine as long as you store it right. However, if it's not stored correctly and you're not using an insert like the 7 Rue Paradise insert inside, Togo over a long period of time does sort of start to slouch. Mine when I take the insert out, like it does have a slight bit of slouch to it, but hardly. Like you kind of, obviously it's just had the insert out, so it's kind of still propped up, but it doesn't slouch completely. It still is all right, you know. I didn't have the 7 Rue Paradise insert from the get-go though with this particular bag. I had another insert and it actually made this happen with the bag. I don't know if you've ever noticed it, but you see how this kind of bulges a bit here? Yeah, that's what the other insert did to the bag, because the other insert had a board at the bottom and it was pushing out the leather. So yeah, that's why now I only use the 7 Rue Paradise inserts. They're the only inserts that are safe for your bag other than the Hermes 4B. But the Hermes 4B doesn't like have organizational component to it, doesn't really help with shape at all either. But yeah, I think personally I still prefer Togo for the B30, but I still would be totally happy if it was in Swift, totally happy if it was in Novillo leather, because I just love that smooth buttery leather anyway, and I like the added bonus that it makes the bag even lighter with those kind of leathers. You know, if you really just want your Birkin to be totally and completely scratch resistant, then Togo is definitely the way to go. Just bear in mind that it is a heavier leather than Novillo and Swift, and the Birkin is, you know, generally it's more on the weighty side than say a Kelly 25, Kelly 28 sort of thing. Next question is, how much is the average price and resale of a Birkin 30 new and a Birkin 30 old? Again, there's going to be a lot of variables with this, leather, color, but I'm just going to stick to like say neutrals. And brand new Birkin 30, if it's in like my spec of a tube with gold hardware, you're looking at about 23,000 Singaporean, maybe 21,000, depends, you know, but you're looking at upwards of 20, looking at like the most being 23,000. Maybe if it's like an older stamp, it might be that $21,000 mark in SGD. But typically, if it's brand new, fresh out of the box, that sort of year stamp, yeah, you're looking at about 23,000 for this kind of spec. Black with gold hardware is quite similar, but yeah, a tube is kind of like one of the most desirable with gold hardware, especially gold on gold. You'd be looking at that same kind of pricing as well. But if you were to go with a Birkin 30 new that was in a color, let's say anemone, if it was a Birkin 30 in anemone in Togo leather, then brand new, it may only be around about 20,000 Singaporean, maybe 19,000. Yeah, but pre-loved, if you were to go with the neutral, if it was a taupe gold hardware pre-loved and it was about 6 years old, it still is relatively desirable. So it's probably around about, say, $17,000, $18,000 pre-loved. The older you go, the more it may drop down in price a bit. A color, Birkin 30 pre-loved, say again anemone pre-loved, if it's like about 6 years old, it might be around about 14,000 to anywhere between 14,000 and 16,000. Maybe another color, if you look at malachite pre-loved, again it's probably around about the same, anywhere between like that 14,000 to maybe 15,000, $16,000 mark. It really depends on how old the bag is. But yeah, that's kind of just rough ballpark figures. There's too many variables to really sort of be like firm. But yeah, this is based on the Asian market that I typically follow. I don't typically follow the US market because US is just out of my reach. It's just the exchange rate is terrible. Another question, what should I buy first, a Birkin or a Kelly? This is definitely personal preference. Definitely. Because I remember when I first bought my first Hermes bag, it was a Kelly. But I really wanted a Birkin, but I bought the Kelly because I was trying to be responsible and going, you know what, I'm a new mum, I need a shoulder strap, and I found a vintage Kelly bag in Ardennes, Kelly 32, and it was a great price. It was like about $7,000, so Australian, so and it was in great condition. It was vintage, but it was like, there was like nothing wrong with it whatsoever. There was not a mark in sight. And yeah, I was like, you know what, I don't want to pay heaps expense, because the Birkin 30 was still like, it is still now, but like Birkin, bigger bags were still really definitely still in back when I bought my bag back in, I think it was like 26, to begin, yeah, it's about 2016 or something like that. So yeah, I kind of really wanted a Birkin, settled for a Kelly, ended up selling that and getting the Birkin and enjoying the Birkin for quite some time until I realized that it was impractical having a Birkin with a young child. So I learned that kind of, like I learned that the hard way at the time, but it was also in the time where my lifestyle, I was adjusting to being a new mum and I didn't quite know how to make things sort of work for me, and like it was just too much kind of newness to everything, you know? So personal preference. Now, for me, I would always say Kelly, because Kelly just suits my lifestyle. It's just so many more opportunities for me to use a Kelly bag than what there is for me to use a Birkin bag, especially now with 2 kids. I find that if I'm on my own, I need a shoulder bag because I'm pushing the pram and holding my daughter's hand. I need a shoulder bag. I can't be carrying a Birkin and pushing the pram, and I'm not hanging my bag from a hook on my pram, and I'm not putting my Birkin in the under part of the pram. That is not happening, no way. So for me, there is more opportunities for me to use the Kelly bag where it's far more practical. The Birkin only gets used when I've got my husband with me, or if we're going to go see family, and or I'm driving to a place and I know I'm going to be sitting down and not having to push a pram anywhere or anything like that, then that's when I use the Birkin. So for me, I would say Kelly, because that's what works for my lifestyle and what I do in my day-to-day life. But at the same time, if it's your first bag, everyone knows the Birkin. The Birkin is just what is known and what people dream about. So I kind of feel like with that same token, you should just get the Birkin. That's what I mean, it's complicated because I've now experienced Hermes and I've gone through my journey, so I kind of now can go, okay, well, if 32-year-old me could tell 28-year-old self, I would say the Kelly, right? But because I also know that even if 32-year-old me told 28-year-old self that, I wouldn't be happy there would be no way that I was going to be completely happy to have the Kelly as my first bag, and I wasn't. I wanted the Birkin. I settled for the Kelly, and I should have just got the Birkin first, even if that Birkin ended up being sold at some point due to like the lifestyle. It's still, I needed the Birkin first. So that's what I mean. Like, it's, I know that this seems like a very weird way to answer the question, I know that, but just go for the Birkin first. Just go for the Birkin first, because I feel like the Birkin is going to scratch the itch, and it's going to, like, if you're ticking off your first elusive Hermes bag, the Birkin is just going to scratch the itch. I really feel that. Unless you know that you cannot stand the Birkin and you team Kelly 100%, then yeah, that's a different scenario. But when it comes to that uncertainty up in the air, I would just say go the Birkin. Okay, now another question is, I feel like this video is going to be very long. I don't know, I hope not. Okay, should I go for a neutral color? Personal preference again. Neutral colors I feel are safe. They kind of just go with everything. So if you, I feel like this question has to be posed with, are you the kind of person that totally loves colors? You'll wear all kind of mixtures of colors with your outfit. You don't try to follow any kind of color wheel. You just wear what makes your heart sing, and that's, you're happy with a mismatch of colors, whatever. Then I would say go for a color, because it seems to me that you're the sort of person that gets life from having vibrancy and colors in your wardrobe. If you're the kind of person where you're probably like me, like if you're like me, where you tend to wear neutrals already, like you wear grays, you wear browns, you wear beiges, you wear blacks, you wear whites, usually dabble in a bit of color here and there, but it's usually only like a blazer, just a top, maybe that sort of thing, maybe your shoes. Like you kind of just have accents of color, but you're not all over color. You just like mix a little bit of color with mostly neutrals. Then I would say go neutral, because then you'll probably feel more comfortable. And then as time goes on, if you choose to grow your collection, then you might want to start to introduce color, which is what I did. I had like my neutral bags, you know, I had my Birkin Kelly, and then I got my mini Raleigh, and then I started to sort of introduce color. The first color I picked didn't work out for me. It was a Constance 18 in blue electric that I bought in the Resale, like pre-loved market. And then I ended up going with getting a Constance 24 and Rose Azalea, because I absolutely love the color Rose Azalea. There is some sentimental value to the color Rose Azalea. Yeah, so now I added that, and then I ended up adding like the Pinkerton in blue pale, the Kelly Dance in vert cricket. So, oops, I'm dropping bags, so we're not gonna bother about showing you that. But yeah, that's what I would just say. Just evaluate your own personal taste, and that will help you decide whether you should go neutral or color. So I've decided I'm going to end this video here, and I'm going to split it into 2 parts. So stay tuned for part 2. If you do have any questions, you're welcome to put them in the comments down below, and I will work on filming another one of these videos later on addressing all your questions. But yeah, do check out part 2 once it's uploaded. And if you like this video, if you liked part 1, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.